Welcome back to BBB Adventures and the Builder Series at Frank's Place. This episode will be a continuation of the project we started to refresh Luna, our 1962 Corvair Greenbrier camper van. Hey, I wanted to interrupt the introduction of this Builder Series episode. For those of you who watched last week's BBB Adventures episode, you learned why we've been on radio silence for so long. I want to give a little bit of explanation of what this episode's about. This is footage that I took back in August when I was still getting a chance to get into Frank's Place every now and then and work on Luna. Where this video ends is really where the project stopped. I haven't actually been in the shop working on Luna since. So that's what this is. I also wanted to let everybody know that all of the comments and support and condolences that we got on last week's episode, where we explained my father's illness and the work that we did to help him and then his eventual passing, etc., really meant a lot to us. It's heartwarming to know that our viewers care about us, and again, the comments really, they really touched us and meant a lot. So we appreciate that. But we are looking forward, as we pointed out in that episode, we are looking forward. We got lots of great stuff planned in 2024. I will get back to Luna. I will finish that van refresh. Probably won't happen until the spring. Like we said in last week's episode, we are going to take Birdie down south. I'm doing a little bit of work to Birdie now to get her ready for that. But when we get back in the spring, I'm going to get back to Frank's Place and we'll have more episodes as we work on finishing Luna, right? Right. One other thing, there is one more episode, Builder Series episode, that I have footage for, which is the restoration of the steering wheel for Luna. I restored the steering wheel, and I'm going to put a short episode together for that. Hey, let's get back to the episode and see what's going on with Luna. We covered the scope and goals of this project in part 1 of this Luna Refresh series, so if you're interested in what we're attempting to accomplish, you can go back and watch that episode. Welcome back to BBB Adventures and the Builder Series at Frank's Place. It's been a while, I know. For those of you who may be new to the Builder Series, I've been working on a Luna refresh. Luna is our 1962 Corvair Greenbrier camper van. I'm in the middle of a big refresh. I was making progress. My goal was to get it done in time to take it to the National Corvair Convention, which was back in June. For those of you who have been watching, you know this. For those of you who are new, some stuff happened. My dad got sick. Just as he was starting to get better, we crashed on a training ride on the Red Dragon, our tandem. So I actually haven't been in a position to work at Frank's Place in, well, what is today? Today is August 13th. I don't remember the last time I was in the shop, probably mid-May, maybe? May? I think it was about May when my dad got sick, and then in June, maybe it was even the end of April. That was probably the end of April. So anyway, I don't think I haven't been in the shop since April because of those things going on. But I am now, my shoulder's better. I'm in a position to try to get this thing done. I'm trying to think of some deadlines. We have some family coming in maybe in late September to do some camping. So maybe that's a good milestone for me to try to get this thing done, but I need a milestone to drive me. Anyway, today, the engine is still tore apart. Today, we're gonna start to reassemble it. As a reminder, I got the O-rings and the pushrod tubes all replaced. I've been cleaning on these surfaces. This gasket was leaking. I got the oil pump gasket replaced. I got this seal. There's a seal in here. I got a new seal on there. This housing goes on this is the back housing of the motor. I'm gonna put it on today and maybe even get to putting on, I got some cleaning left to do on this gasket surface, but maybe put on this. I did have a viewer talk to Mary Beth while she was at the Corvair convention and pointed out to me that I had made a mistake, that this bearing is not supposed to spin like that. It's supposed to spin a little bit, but it's not supposed to freewheel, so it sounds good, so it needs to be greased. So I do need to grease this bearing before I put this top housing back on, but I've been cleaning on that surface. It's in pretty good shape. So yeah, anyway, it's time to start putting this motor back together so that we can get it back in the car, back in the van. Yeah, I still have a bunch of stuff to do. I still have some parts to clean. The transaxle, the transmission and differential still need some cleaning. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. But one step at a time. One step at a time. So I'm gonna start working on this, starting to reassemble this motor. All right, I think I'm ready to put this housing back on. I've cleaned this surface. I'll probably wipe it one more time. I've put some assembly lube on this gear that runs the distributor. And this is a cam that runs the mechanical fuel pump. Although I'm not gonna be using that because I've got an electric fuel pump and I'm gonna bypass that. So, but yeah. So, and I've got the bolts all ready. I put anti-seize on them so they're staged and ready to go. This assembly's clean. Here's the gasket. So I just have to put goop around the perimeter, the right stuff. This is the best stuff, the right stuff. So I just have to goop the perimeter, then the perimeter of the gasket, and put it back together. Okay, you can see I've got a thin layer of the sealer on there, the right stuff. Now I'm going to put the gasket on, and I'm going to coat the gasket, and then I'm going to put the assembly, the housing on the engine block. I got the housing on. I got them snugged up to where you can see the goo sort of squirting out a little bit. Now you wait 30 minutes and then you torque it. That's what the stuff says. So now I'll set a timer and in 30 minutes we'll torque it down. Now that I got the gasket seated, I got to take this bracket back off because I have to install the flywheel or the pulley on the crankshaft. And this assembly's in the way, but I wanted to seat the gasket first. So I'm going to take this back off. I'm going to put this on. I put some oil around, I put some grease around that. This thing is keyed. Okay, I gotta find the torque spec for this. Okay, it said to tighten it, then back it up a quarter turn, and then 60 to 80 foot-pounds. just feels really bad. It feels like I'm putting a lot of force on it. I just don't like the way it feels. No, I am not going to strip that bolt. It is just not happening. I tightened that up. I thought the camera was on, but it wasn't. So let me review what I did. I tightened up the bolt that holds the pulley, but I only got it up. It was, I just didn't like the way it was feeling. I got up to about 40 foot-pounds. It's supposed to be 60. But it just felt like one of those bolts that was underneath the car where, I don't know, it just felt bad. And I think it's tight enough. This is press fit onto the crankshaft. And so I really don't think that needs to be tighter than it is. It's pretty tight. So I'm calling it good. Because the last thing I want to do is strip out, oh my God, just stripping out the crankshaft, the hole in the back of the crankshaft. I mean, that would be a major disaster. So yeah, I'm done with that. I put these back, I put this plate back on and snug these up. Still have a little bit of time to wait before I can torque these down. Welcome back to Frank's place. It's the next day. But let me give you an update on the engine progress. So I'm ready to put the top housing, the blower housing, back on. But after talking to Larry and thinking about it, I've decided to put a different blower, cooling fan. Remember, the Corvair is an air-cooled engine. This is the main cooling fan, and I'm going to show you some of the differences in why I am choosing the path that I'm choosing. These are the blower housings, and the casting is pretty much the same. The big difference is the fan. So let's talk about the fan. This is an early model fan. Early models go from 60 to 60. Well, the 60 fan was even different, but this is like 61 to 64 with some subtle differences. But the main thing to note is this fan is a stamping. It's made from stamped steel, and it is spot welded together, I believe, but it's actually very heavy. It's a very heavy fan, and it moves a lot of air. It does a good job, but it has a lot of rotating mass, a lot of inertia. This fan is cast magnesium, and it is super light compared to this fan. This was on the 65 to 69 cars, late model cars, and it has a lot lower rotating mass. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's less horsepower for the engine. It takes less horsepower from the engine to turn the fan, number one, because it has lower rotating mass. But number two, they tend to be easier on the belt. And a Corvair can suffer from a thing called belt flipping, where because the belt goes up and makes this 90-degree turn from the crankshaft to the fan, the belts could sometimes flip off the pulley, and these lighter fans tend to do that less. So it's really a better solution. I happen to have some spare parts. This is a fan housing with a very new or nearly new bearing on it. So I'm gonna put this on there. The bearings are different diameters, so you can see that doesn't really fit there, so that has a bigger diameter. And this early model fan, you know, won't go over that bearing because obviously the diameter is too small, which means the pulleys are different. The pulleys have different holes in them. So anyway, I have these parts. So this is the top cover housing and fan assembly I'm going to put on Luna. And if I was a purist and I was saying, hey, if I was a purist and I was trying to do a 100-point restoration, obviously this would be wrong because it's not the right fan for the year of the car. I'm trying to build something that's reliable. Luna is not a show car. She's a survivor. and I want it to be reliable to the extent possible so that we can use it. And so I do think that this fan is the right solution. So my next step is to install this top fan housing on the engine, which is over there. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I got all the surfaces cleaned up. That surface, both sides of this splash guard thing, and the engine surface. So now I'm going to put a layer of the right stuff on both sides of this gasket, and then what am I going to do? Maybe I start with that. Yeah, I think I start with that. Put that gasket on. Yeah, I think that's what I do. I think I start with this, and then I put that on, and then I take the whole assembly over to here. Anyway, that's what I think I'm gonna do. Yeah, and then I've got the bolt, got these special bolts from Clark's Corvair parts that are supposed to stay tighter and help prevent leaks on this top housing. Okay, we got a thin layer of that on the whole surface. Gasketed up. I got it in. You can see that the silicone is squeezing out. So now I wait 1 hour and I tighten these to the torque spec. Yep. Okay. Okay, it's been an hour, and I am going to torque these down. I'm going to go around and give them all 5. The spec is 7 to 13 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go to 10. Okay, all torqued. Well, it's been a couple of days. It's been a couple of days since I was at the shop. I was editing a BBB Adventures video, our first in our rag ride, day 1. So if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. But a quick update, I put this housing on just a minute ago. I didn't film it. Well, oh, the lighting's terrible. Let me go this way. I put this housing, so you saw me put this on, and I torqued it down and put all the stuff on, and so this housing goes on top. This is the oil filter housing, and I'm waiting to torque it down. So while I wait, I'm going to put the valve covers on yeah, I don't want more debris getting in there. So I'll clean that out, make sure there's no dust or dirt or whatever in there. But here's the valve cover, all nicely restored. And I'm going to use these more expensive rubber gaskets. And for now, I'm not going to put any RTV. I'm not going to put any sealant on these. Normally, I would probably put sealant on this side. But when I get the engine in, and I'm going to have to go back and adjust the valves, which means these valve covers have to come off. So I'm going to put them on temporarily, just so that they'll hold the oil when I fill the engine with the oil. Then they're going to have to come off. They come off, and I put this one on. This is a temporary one. This one, when it's on there, those holes give you access to these nuts to adjust the lash, the backlash, the clearance on the rockers. So anyway, I will get to that. But for now, I'm gonna put these gaskets on here, and I'm gonna temporarily install the valve covers. I got this valve cover on, and you can see these are load spreaders. So you tighten it here, and there's a gap here, so it's putting a force here and here to sort of spread out the load to try to make a consistent seal. Anyway, so that one's on. I'm gonna do the one on the other side, but I won't film it because it's gonna look exactly like what I just did. Okay, got the other valve cover on. I think maybe next I'll put the oil pan on. I've been painting the oil pan. This is a piece of steel that I bought from Clark's, and it goes here and helps spread the load. The oil pan's made of thin stamped metal, relatively thin steel, and it's got these little indentations that try to give some stiffness to the flange that the gasket mounts to. But this is a much thicker piece of steel, and so you put that here, and it really helps to distribute the load. And theoretically, it keeps the pan from leaking. So we'll see. I've never put one on before, but I actually bought it years ago for one of my other Corvairs and never installed it. And I found it in a pile of parts. So I thought, well, I'm going to try it. So I painted it, and yeah, so maybe I'll put that stuff on today. Disco Doggy. Hi, buddy. Hi. 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 The shop dog's back. The shop boss is back. Yay. Hi, buddy. Hi. 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 Disco Doggy. Hi. Hi. Yes. Oh, yes. Daddy. Yes, Disco Doggy. Look, MB brought us lunch.
I did.
She brought the shop doggy. She brought the shop doggy. Yay, Disco Doggy. Okay, I think I'm ready to put the oil pan on the engine. I've got the surface all cleaned up. The mating surface on the bottom of the engine block, on the case. Got the oil pan all cleaned up. Here's the new gasket. I've got this metal reinforcer that I talked about earlier. That's all painted. It comes with special screws. You need screws that are a little longer because of the thickness of this thing. So the stock screws won't work. So I got all the new screws that came with that. So I'm ready to put gasket sealer on this. Get the gasket ready to go on. And yeah, but first things first. I mean, it is like 3:30 in the afternoon, and you know what that means. It's time for a beer, and right now the only beer I've got is Coors Light, but that's okay. You know, it's a nice afternoon. It's a nice afternoon beer. So I'm gonna have a Coors Light and get ready to put this oil pan on. Cheers. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. could be using a power tool for this, but I like to feel the threads. I always feel like the power tool hides you just don't have a feel for what's going on. So I'm a little old school when it comes to this sort of thing. Particularly threading steel bolts into soft aluminum. Man, I really want to feel what's going on. Now we wait an hour and we torque those down. Now that the oil pan's on, looks pretty good. You can see the goo squirting out there. So now I'm gonna wait an hour and I'm gonna torque it down. While I wait, I'm gonna put the exhaust manifolds back on, and I've got these new gaskets. I've got these cleaned up. So this just goes on here like this. And then there's some bolts that clamp it. There's some clamps and bolts that hold it to the head. So I'm gonna do that now. They have these special little washers that at the tabs, you bend the tabs up to grab the nut to prevent the nut from slipping out. Okay, it's time to do the other side. Okay, I looked up the torque specs and it said 12 to 27. So I'm gonna do 19 and a half. I think what I'll do is tighten them to 15. And then I'll run the car for a while. And if they leak, I'll come tighten them up a little more. But I think they're seating pretty well. My guess is that's just fine. Okay. Well, exhaust manifolds are on. Well, I'm guessing that if any of you are Corvair people out there, and I know that there are some of you out there, the whole time I was putting those exhaust manifolds on, you were going, "Hey, dumbass, they're backwards." And after I got it all done, I realized I have them on backwards. This is the this is the problem with having the engine not in its normal orientation and just being stupid. But this is supposed to be back here. This is actually this one, and that one is this one. And anyway, I got to take these off and I got to turn them back around the other way. So yeah, I'm gonna work on that now. It's time to torque the oil pan. So that's pretty much the state of the Luna refresh. The last time I was in the shop working on it, I have done a few things, but nothing significant since then. Like I said, there will be an episode about the steering wheel restoration and a couple other minor things that I did get done, but for the most part, that catches you up with the status of that project. So thanks for watching. I'll get the next episode done as soon as I can. Appreciate any feedback in the comments. We'll see you on Saturday for the next BBB Adventures episode. Until then, enjoy the ride, wear a helmet.